so moist.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Functional Meatheads. I'm Mark DeSalvo.
And I'm Froilan Sanchez.
Another week, another Functional Meatheads. Apparently, one of our stars of our opening is back on the podcast circuit. Mike Buschetti has his own podcast. I can't officially endorse it because I haven't listened to it yet. I really need to download that.
No, iTunes?
I'm sure it is. I haven't even searched. I just saw him spam Instagram like, "Hey everybody, the Mike Buschetti project is now up."
Did he have it with, who was the first one, you know?
I have no idea. Let's look it up.
He was going to experiment with different, like, stories and all that kind of stuff.
I don't know. Let's find out. Buschetti.
I was just reading about how activated charcoal makes your poop black.
It does. I was gonna tell you about that because
it's one of the worries. Like, don't.
Yeah, like the other thing too to be aware of with activated charcoal, since I've been experimenting with it, if you put it in one of those like pill cases, it's gonna shed black stuff everywhere, and you're gonna have to wash the pill case because I guess it
also does it inside of the regular.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Same idea. So.
It's interesting. I've been doing a lot of research, but I want to know why does it for some people it gives constipation, and for some people it helps their stool. So if it helps you go to the bathroom, what's the difference? Like, what's going on differently in your body? I know magnesium is a big part of being able to go to the bathroom if you're taking activated charcoal, but I want to know if it gives me any information about what's going on.
You know, I can't really say yet because I haven't done enough research and like self-experimentation, but I have to say, like, I don't know, the basic science makes sense, but I mean, and this is completely non-scientific but weirdly anecdotal, you know, it's Memorial Day yesterday, so I went to Totono.
Yeah, how was it?
Oh, amazing. We got to go. We have to go.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. You know, it's up there with Lucali. To me, they're like one and one. It was really good. And you know, the tough part, the thing is that I got there, and you know, I make it a point now to do your experiment. Anytime I know I'm gonna have something that I might struggle with, have the N-acetylcysteine and the charcoal with me. But I forgot it, so I was like, shit. Well, whatever. I'm gonna enjoy it. So anyway. I was basically coming off an intermittent fast. And it wasn't the first thing I ate. I had some.
It's not a good plan.
No, it's good. Yeah. No, I had some avocado and some eggs, so I was much cleaner coming off it. Maybe it was because of the fat that I ate before, but I felt fine. I had absolutely no ill effects, like at least that I could sense. No brain messing with or no.
But how often have you been doing the charcoal before and the N-acetylcysteine?
I've done that probably about 4 times now.
But when was the last time you took the N-acetyl?
Maybe a week ago, week or two.
So it wasn't in their system. Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I felt good. But
you know, tolerate stuff more.
What's that?
I find I can tolerate stuff better than I used to. But it only seems after I've been taking this N-acetylcysteine. And they're activated. Like, I'm saying, not even when I don't take it, I'm not as, like, jacked up. So I don't know if it's because I'm taking care of myself. Is it the chicken or the egg? Is it because I'm doing that stuff that I have this leeway to cheat in a certain way? Or is it because I have this stuff in my system, it's still in my system and it's pushing stuff out whenever I do it?
Right.
So I haven't been able to decide.
Well, for me, it was all about. I kind of chalk it up to the whole once you clean out your system, which I spent 4 months being really hardcore cleaning out and being absolutely clean, like absolutely nothing that could be remotely considered a cheat went in. Once you're kind of firing on all cylinders, it's like kind of that hormesis effect. Like you can throw something tough at it, like a pizza, and you'll deal with it. So long as you're not like having a pizza and then a donut and then the pizza becomes a regular thing. But if you're generally on track, eating what you should for what you're doing in your activity and et cetera, and you kind of are ridding yourself of allergy, you have good gut flora, a good strong gut, I feel like you can take a quick hit, you know?
Yeah. Well, imagine if you did bone broth, yo.
Yeah, I mean that's next on the list. It's not for a lack of interest. It's like I don't
Gotta
know.
get you
You
some.
ever have that? You ever have that weird thing where you know you need to try something and just for whatever reason you just forget, and then one day
Yeah,
you're just
when I was 12.
motivated and you do it.
When I was 12.
You're an asshole.
Now I'm pretty good about I'm very impulsive when something. I've learned to be impulsive when something health-wise comes up. Like just, oh, okay, I'll try it. If I have the money, I'll buy it. Oh, I'm gonna try it. You know, like I'm pretty good about not waiting. And usually it actually turns out pretty good. You know, it's not something that like the bone broth, second nature. Liver is the thing that I couldn't get used to. I was like, can't eat that. Can't eat that.
I see.
Uh,
Well, that's good. That's a good thing. I mean, in general, I think I'm pretty diligent, but sometimes it happens. This seems to be one of them.
you have to get grass-fed bones, yo.
I know. I do need to. I'll go
Um,
to I'll go to Whole Foods next time after jiu-jitsu and ask them, or I'll go to my butcher.
I'm sure they have them, but I think a butcher would be better as long as you know they give you grass-fed, because he can cut it for you a certain way.
See, that's the thing is that the the butcher near me, they sell grass-fed, uh, but they also sell, the grain finished, grass-fed, grain finished.
You know,
And the
what's up
guy,
with that?
what was that?
It's a weird thing.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was talking to the butcher, and he kind of, he's old school Brooklyn, and he kind of laughs at me a little bit with how I won't eat anything not grass-fed, and he kind of laughs at a lot of how that's kind of a thing. And he's always like, you're missing out. It doesn't taste as good. And I was like, yeah, no, I know. But then we talk and kind of exchange jabs as to like why you wouldn't. But the thing is that he would be forthcoming with me if he was there and I was like, hey, I need what do I need again? Knuckle bone or something?
No, any joint bones.
Hey, if I said to him like, give me some joint bones of a grass-fed cow.
I would just say for your first thing, just hey, give me some marrow bones.
Yeah, if I said give me some marrow bones, you know, he might not have a grass-fed one, but if I ask the wrong guy, they'll be like, yeah, it's grass-fed. But like the owner, he would be straight up with me. He'd be like, hey, buddy, this ain't grass-fed, but I'll give it to you. You know?
I took back someone. I didn't know that they were in the grass-fed section of Whole Foods, but then I read the thing after he already packaged it, and it wasn't grass-fed. I was like, yeah. I took it to the girl. I go, hey, this is a bone. Can you take it back? She's like, all right. Because I just felt I'm like I'm not having this potion just because of. I'm having this potion specifically because it's grass-fed, not no other reason why, you know.
Right.
I stopped myself before I was like, I can't do this. It was cheaper than my other place though, which is I was hoping it was gonna be. But I mean, it doesn't matter. It lasts me. It's a snack that lasts me 4 days if I'm good with it, and I can cook with the fat. So I was pretty happy with it.
Right. Nice.
Yeah, it's the cooking time that gets people. It's like 5 hours where you have to let it simmer for 5 hours, just getting all that stuff. I mean,
I'm cool with that. That's like that crock pot mentality. Things end up coming out good because of that, you know?
yeah, most people. I don't know. Do you leave your crock pot on overnight, or are you paranoid?
No, I'll do it. I don't have one. I usually borrow them from my girlfriend or, her roommate or something. But, because they have like a million sitting in their apartment. But I have no problems leaving it on overnight. If it looks like it's functioning, I kind of give it the look test. If it's a newer one, if you have some old junky crock pot you bought at like a yard sale, I wouldn't leave that on overnight. But,
Oh, dude.
But if you have the newer crock pots that have like timers, yeah, you leave it on overnight, but it shuts itself off,
I have a newer old one,
A newer old one.
and I don't use it as much because I don't.
How Brooklyn of you.
I know, right? I have a hip one. I don't use it as much. I guess I should use it more.
I would think you would be all about that because, I mean, I don't know how much these days you buy into the whole, like, how to cook your meat so it doesn't, like, ruin it. Like that real anal retentive stuff.
I think, and this is partly of the thing we're going to talk about today. Partly about it, like one of the reasons why I don't have one of those machines for the meat, the sous vide, is just because it costs like a lot, 300 and 400 for the sous vide
Oh yeah, yeah.
in the entrance. But I would if I could. I would seriously would. It's not a matter of. It's more a financial thing as opposed to. I mean, it's not really financial. If I wanted one, I could get one, but
Right.
it's more. I kind of enjoy cooking for myself right now, even though it's a lot of the same thing. But I kind of, it's the same type of food. I eat it, but I see that as an adventure that's waiting in the future.
Right. I mean, you and I often talk about that. Like, or we said it on the podcast before. Like, it's doing something good for yourself. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. Plus, I think it's easier to clean because it's just water and you're putting the food in a bag and you're poaching and you're doing whatever you need to do. So
Yeah. Nah. Yeah. Well, before we get into the topic, there's a. This is a minor project of my own, or a PSA for people, especially relevant now that it's approaching summer. So, if you listen to us, or particularly if you are a fan of Joe Rogan and Rhonda Patrick, she talks about vitamin D all the time. We talk about vitamin D a lot, and not getting enough of it. Anyway, this is the long introduction of saying uh, I've been out in the sun a lot lately because it's getting very nice out, and
okay.
and I've still been supplementing vitamin D. I do 5,000 IU's a day, and this morning,
Any particular brand that you did research on, or just
here's the funny thing. If you ask me, I would love to figure out where this is like made and processed or whatnot. I almost think the cleanest brand of vitamin D3 out there is the Trader Joe's generic brand,
really?
because they are very forthcoming on the label of everything that's not in there, and it has the least amount of ingredients. Now that doesn't always mean best,
Yeah.
having the least amount, but it seems to be the purest. It's the vitamin D compound, olive oil, and the gelatin. That's it. That's what they say. And every other one that you'll find tends to have like one or two extra things, like some cornstarch or something else in there. It's kind of like, I don't know, it just gets a little dicey. But that said, I feel comfortable enough using the Vitamin Shop brand, vitamin D3.
Mhm.
I think there's some other brands that would work, but generally for me, I've always used the Trader Joe's or the Vitamin Shop, and I mean, unless they're just feeding me snake oil, I mean, I've never had any adverse effects. But
Huh.
anyway, so I spent a lot of time in the sun because I went to the beach yesterday, and was out this morning riding my bike, getting a lot of sun too because it was pretty bright this morning. And
Yeah.
I took vitamin D both days, the 5,000 IU. But before I left, I had forgotten I had taken it already, so I took it again. And I was
Yikes.
like 10,000 IU's plus the sun already. I was like, that's probably a lot. I have a feeling that was probably not a good idea. Well, it was a mistake, obviously.
You get a
So
sunburn?
what was that?
You get a sunburn?
No, I didn't get sunburned or anything. I mean, I got a little, like a little red on my chest, but not even red. It's like gone this morning, So now it's just. Now
Always
it's,
do activated charcoal if you get in trouble with that.
what was that?
You can always do activated charcoal to soak up some of the extra stuff if you're worried about it.
That's a good idea, actually. But I didn't think of that, so that was a good contribution. The other
Yeah.
thing I was going to say is that I was looking up like what would constitute a vitamin D overdose. This is kind of like my PSA for everyone. You should see. I'm not anywhere close to what the Mayo Clinic describes as an overdose and like dangerous toxicity levels. Do you care to wager how many IU's you have to take to be toxic?
I know the equivalent to like shit. If you were gonna die of marijuana overdose, it's like 150,000 hits. You'd have to take 150,000 hits. I was just reading it. It was because that guy about in England that just died or whatever, or the lady. So it was like, I don't know, probably something. Maybe it was like 100,000 IU's.
You're over, but it's 50.
Wow.
50,000. 50,000. That's a lot. But you know, it's almost hard to. I mean, I don't want to butcher it, obviously, but from what I understand from reading it, It says taking 50,000 international units a day of vitamin D for several months has been shown to cause toxicity. This level is many times higher than the recommended dietary allowance for most adults of 600 IU of vitamin D a day. Doses sometimes higher than the RDA are used to treat medical problems such as vitamin D deficiency, but these are given only under the care of a doctor and for only a short time. And if you listen to Rhonda Patrick or read her stuff, you'll note that a recommended daily allowance being so low of 600 IU assumes that you don't have a deficiency, and most people do.
Wow.
So that 600 is really low.
Do you know what the equivalent of actually, how many minutes or hours of sunlight do I need to get 500 IUs?
That is a good question. That I don't know.
Let's see if we can find it.
Yeah.
Oh, nah.
How much sunlight is needed for vitamin D? Oh, great. The first result that comes up is U.S. News and World Report. You know how they're always so accurate with health articles. Yeah. Or, excuse me, let me get a... can't find my regular show sound.
Nah.
Nah.
Yeah, I'm on the Vitamin D Council.
Hey, I bet you are.
Let's see.
But yeah, that's while you're looking at that, I will let me finish this thought here. But vitamin D is so dicey. That's why I would love to have her on sometime to talk about it a little more, because you might have to take something like 6,000 for a year if you're deficient just to get you normal. That's so crazy to think about, though, that it could take over a year to get you like on a regular level just by supplementing. And even then, it's not the same thing as the sunlight.
Okay, here we go. You don't need to tan or burn your skin in order to get the vitamin D you need. Exposing your skin for a short time will make all the vitamin D your body can produce in one day. In fact, your body can produce 10,000 to 25,000 IU of vitamin D in just a little under the time it takes for your skin to turn pink.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that's actually probably about, let's say, average day, 85 degrees. That's probably about an hour, maybe 45 minutes.
I mean, depending on
it depends on melanin, all that stuff.
Well, consider this. When you go to tanning places, I think, you're trying to keep it 30 minutes or under unless you're real hardcore. So I would almost think 30 minutes at the low end could hit you that, and then an hour might.
Let's just assume in 30 minutes you could make anywhere from 15 to 20,000 IUs.
That's hardcore, bro.
That's pretty good. I like glad that they put it in that. And it depends on the time of day, where you live, closer to the equator, further away, the color of your skin. Pale skins make vitamin D more quickly than darker skins.
That's me, buddy.
And the amount of skin you expose, the more skin you expose, the more vitamin D your body will produce. Okay, so that's interesting. I like it. I like it a lot.
It's like a bigger solar panel gathering more energy. It makes sense.
Yeah. Pretty interesting.
Yeah. Well, vitamin D, be on the lookout. Before we get into the topic, you have any thing you'd like to talk about? Any projects or anything?
Everything's pretty good on my end for the projects. What's the project that I'm kind of... This week is not too much. I'm pretty good. My new passion project is the charcoal, figuring out what's going on with the charcoal, why it has this effect on me as opposed to everything else.
This would be a good thing to follow up with on the podcast as you do more research, because it's interesting. Well,
Sorry, mostly just feeling really good. Like putting everything together from the intermittent fasting to the carbs, cutting down or knowing my carbs to my zones that I found the 2 zones that work so perfectly for me. I've been upping my green oolong tea intake, so everything's been firing on all cylinders physically, and I've been feeling it lately, and it kind of got me to think about a podcast topic that we kind of been wanting to talk about, which kind of preempts the other one, but it just.
Would you care to tease anyone with that topic you're referring to?
I mean, it depends. It's up to you. It's like like what's the big question is what's really going on? Like what's really going on? Like why do you and I do what I do? Why does Paul Chek does what he does? Why does you know why do these high-end trainers, and by high-end trainers I mean people that take the holistic whole body approach, what's their goal? What are they trying to do? And I mean apart from making money and apart from everything else, what are they trying to do in terms of why do they approach it from this aspect as opposed to the you want to lose 10 pounds? All right, let's go do some calories and burn off 10 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of hit me in the last week because I feel so good, and I was like meditating and just I would sit and just breathe and feel like really good about myself, and I'm like, God dang, I'm like everything's firing on all cylinders right now.
Keep
And
talking. I gotta pee.
yeah, go ahead. And so I would think, why is everything firing on all cylinders? And the reason why it's firing on all cylinders is because I'm tending to do everything I'm supposed to be doing, I'm doing. So I'm meditating, I'm doing yoga, I'm taking care of my spine, I'm lifting weights, I'm running a lot, I'm upping my mileage, going down on mileage, I'm intermittent fasting. I'm all these factors, all these little things that we talk about on a regular basis or have individual podcasts about, I'm totally living, and I'm feeling that super high feeling just doing nothing. So it's not even, when I mean nothing, I'm feeling that feeling in between exercising or in between my dinner. I'm just sitting there breathing and feeling good because everything's firing on all cylinders because I'm taking the time to take care of it. So it kind of made sense to me that, hey, this is what we're really trying to convince people of, nothing else. So it's kind of interesting how we preach this, but you're kind of always in the dark about, here, podcast topic number 1, eat your vegetables. Podcast topic number 2, meditate. Podcast topic number 3, drink a lot of water. We hit all of these topics, and sometimes they don't really connect the dots, or we don't really connect the dots, and it's something that won't hit you until you start putting the whole piece of the puzzle together for yourself. So it's something to consider. It's a long-term play, and it's not anything that you want to just kind of go half-hearted in. It's a whole confluence of things that you're juggling and putting together and you're making work. So in a way, you have to kind of convince yourself that it's not a burn your calories workout. It's not a go in and do one workout. It's the accumulation of 30 workouts. Some are work-ins, some are workouts within, let's say, 30 days. And not all of them are sweat-inducing. Not all of them. Some of them are just in the kitchen or at lunch where you're just making the right choices. So if I could bottle the way that it feels and put it all together, it would definitely I would make $1 million because people could do it. But it's not. It's one of those things that unless you're doing it and hitting everything right and doing all your cylinders, you can't describe it to somebody. All I can say is that it's pretty ecstatic, and it's something that I sit there and I'm going, wow, this is it. This is the goal. Like, this is the end result. If I can just get one client to feel this way,
right,
or talk to somebody else about how good it feels, you would so push away the bad stuff. Like, this weekend was a rough weekend because it was a holiday weekend, and I ate pretty much what I wanted, and I didn't do anything because I was just kind of tired from upping my mileage last week. And I felt the difference. Like, today I was like, I don't want to eat anything. It wasn't that I was overeating. I just ate 3 square meals and snacks, and I'm like, that's just too much for me. Like, I'm so used to the smaller eating and everything else that I'm kind of like, I'm loving it. So I guess what it is putting those puzzle pieces together, all together, and making it work for you. That's the whole ticket. That's what those guys are selling. That's what's in every single pill that you want to take for your workout and everything else. It's like, it's basically unlocking the secrets to your body so that you can feel like, wow, I have no disease, I have no injuries, I'm feeling really good. And then when that opened up, I'm just not tired at all, and I can go forever reading books or writing or doing whatever I need to do.
Right.
So it's something to consider. Like I know you've had bouts with it too, where you're like, oh wow, I feel everything's on fire right now. I feel good, and there's nothing left. Like once you reach that plateau, you're like, okay, money's kind of cool, you know. Like you get out of that crazy thinking of like, I need more stuff. I need some shoes. I just sit there and I'm like, I am so content that I totally understand what's going on that level. It's getting your mind right and getting your body right. And if you can get both of them at the same time, bang, you just hit the lottery.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. Well, that's very eloquently put. I could hear it the entire time I was down the hallway. Yeah, I got speakers that extend. But yeah, you took what we were talking about before the podcast in a slightly different direction than I thought, but I'm really glad you took it that way because
well, we can still hit the other topic too. It's just it's the same.
no, it is the same. That's what I was gonna say. Is I had a thought while you were saying all of that too. That I think the reason that, and this relates to what we were going to talk about too, is that the reason I think that boot camps and CrossFit and pre-workout supplements and all of these like very singular aspects of health and fitness, I think the reason that these businesses have their place in the world and are successful, or at least the ones that are still in business, is because they directly with whatever that desire is that someone has in them, whether it's right or wrong. What you just described, and kind of what like a Paul Chek, for instance, or like kind of what we do, especially on this podcast. What the difference there is, it's this big picture thing. Everything you just described is this big picture. You got your sleeping right, you got your eating right, your mobility, your workouts, everything kind of had to build, like a wall that you had to build. And a lot of people are always looking for the instant gratification, and I'm not judging that. I don't even mean that in necessarily a negative way. It's just, it is what it is, that you want this solved, so you go here. You want this solved, so you go here. And sometimes it's as simple as that. But a lot of people kind of miss the point, or missing where they need to go for treatment or wherever they need to connect. I guess this is all the long way of basically saying that, if that makes sense, about like you're kind of thinking to yourself, I'm fat because it was Memorial Day and I ate 4 hot dogs and an ice cream and whatever. I got to go to boot camp tomorrow morning, because like that boot camp business connects very well with that line of thinking, even if it's faulty. And what someone like Paul Chek or someone like us, I don't know, name the person, who they're preaching something a little bit more journey oriented. That payoff that you just described was a journey. It's not like any one thing, and it involved the correction of a lot of faulty thinking, And I think that when you're dealing with that, I'm running out of steam here, so I think you guys get what I mean.
No, I know exactly what you're saying, and it makes the point about what we were talking about earlier. It's like you said, it's a journey. So a lot of people are, number one, I can guarantee you, like 75% of the people that I meet train, they had no idea. They all thought it was the boot camp Soul Cycle mentality, where like I ate 10 hot dogs, I need to work out today to negate that.
Right.
And then you come in and you're like, sorry, dude, you're like 100% wrong. It's all about the journey. They're not ready to take a journey, but since it's about the journey, and the best and the most interesting part about the journey, which touches exactly what we were talking about before we started the podcast, is at every step along the way in this journey to get to feeling how I've been feeling lately, I thought I knew everything. Like as soon as I learned foam rolling, I'm like, I know everything. Like 4 years ago, and then now I know it's foam rolling, and it's a deeper level of mobility. It's taking care of your spine, So every time I thought I learned something new, I go, this is the solution, and it was always no. It was always no. There's something else, and you blend it with this, like a chemist. And I don't mean literally chemicals. I mean,
analogy.
Do yoga and foam roll. you know,
Right.
or do yoga and breath of fire, or do breath of fire and deadlifts, you know, like it was always these little things that I just had there or I knew about. So it's never like I peaked. I never knew everything. I felt like it was exactly as a journey of education. You know, it's like a continuing college. Like I have so many more books that I consider like new classes, and I'm ready and waiting just to get time to do them. But it's the it's those guys, and I don't know. Maybe I don't think anybody's ever explained it in the simple terms. Like, hey, you want to feel like ecstasy without taking any drugs? Do this, 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 and this. I don't even think Paul Chek has said that. You know, like I don't think. I think they kind of just sell you health. Hey, this is what it feels to be healthy. You know.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like okay, and so I think maybe that neutralizes doesn't really do good in the marketing sense of it.
Well, I think that. Well, that's a tough thing to answer. I think that it's easy. It's definitely easier to market the singular aspects. Maybe on the more negative side, you need to burn those calories off of all those hot dogs you just ate, or even something as altruistic, for lack of a better word, as maybe a place that really likes making smoothies and really cares about where the vegetables and fruit came from, and they're satisfying that one thing that you want a healthy treat or healthy something to have with your breakfast. Or an even better example would be like a nutritionist. Say you had like a nutritionist who actually knows his or her stuff, and you know the logic would be, I don't know how to eat. Let me go to a nutritionist. That's not a bad impulse. Uh, the impulse to go work out when you know you need movement is not necessarily is a good impulse too. It's just the modality by which you do it, could be a little misguided. But I think, like I said, it's easy to connect those things. It's like the animal in us. Like, I need this, so this. I'm thirsty. I want to drink water. I'm hungry. Give me that food. That type of thing. And I think that people are afraid of the journey. So I think that's why and this is not to take away from like the Tony Hortons or like the Jillian Michaels or anything of the world, but I think it's why those people become the multi-million-dollar celebrity trainers, and like a Paul Chek, a Steve Maxwell, those kind of people don't necessarily. They kind of are on the fringes, but are so enlightened, And it's not to take away or from anyone, or this is not a criticism. It's just the messages get to be a little deep sometimes when you're talking. Like some of the stuff Steve Maxwell gets into is fascinating, but it's deep. The average person's like, yeah, I don't have time for that, or they're not as interested academically in the subjects as you and I might be. So I think connecting to people and getting them to start their journey is less about emphasizing a large journey. I mean, you give forewarning of that old adage, oh, it's a marathon, not a sprint, but you also have to correct the simple things. I'm hungry. Let's eat. Well, let's make sure you're eating the right thing. I need to move. Let's make sure you're moving in a way that won't hurt you. That kind of thing. You have to be very simple with the stuff to get people going. It's why the person who's the most successful trainer at your big box gym actually gets what look like results with their clients. We wouldn't know anything about them. Maybe, as Paul Chek says, they're sick fit people.
Yeah.
That might be, but they did something that got them to get out of their heads and be and connect at least one or two of those dots in a right way.
Which I think is movement and nutrition. I really think that they
it's movement and what? I'm sorry.
Movement and nutrition.
Right. I think that's at their best. That's what a solid local trainer, will do for you, is correct, any bad movement, or they get lucky with you that you don't have any crazy dysfunction, so they throw something at you and you'll respond to it.
Well, I think you brought up a good point, that well, I extrapolate on it a little bit. Like the people like Check and Maxwell, they're purists, so they don't care about the check that you can write them if they have the Paul Check, um, the biggest loser kettlebells, you know.
Right.
So I guarantee you, if you read How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy versus buying Jillian Michaels fat burn DVDs and equipment at Target or Kmart,
Mhm.
I guarantee you, if you just do the hers, you'll use it maybe for 2 months and it'll never ever be used again. Whereas if you buy a book like Paul Chek, and I know we're always jocking him, but if you buy that book, you'll have a lifetime of references and helping people. I can't tell you how many times have I would just refer back to the book. Let me read this chapter again, or let me look at this again, or let me print. How many times the spine of my book is broken from like making copies of so many different areas to give to people.
Don't
And
admit that.
what's that?
Go
What's
ahead.
that?
I said
Um,
don't admit that. Copyright, please.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah. I mean,
Being a
I'm
troll.
sure he wouldn't care. Yeah, but it's like it's very that in and of itself is a journey right there. If you buy a book, you're gonna have to read the journey. If I just get her video, she's gonna show me 1/75th of the world of health and fitness. You know what I mean? And it just shows you how lopsided it is. The reality is in terms of like that is not health, but that is what markets as health. And what markets as health is a very short-term, temporary thing. Whereas what Paul Chek and people like us try to sell is a long-term game with infinite benefits. And not only infinite benefits, you'll be able to help others as well. So usually what ends up happening is we get people who are broken, and by that time, they need much more time and care, and they don't have the money to do it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like it's an interesting thing. It's like, and this touches upon what we were talking about before, is if you're young and can figure this stuff out, at the very least, the rest of your life will be helping others or coming up with your own program.
Right. Very very much so. Yeah, I think that the tough thing, like you said at the beginning of that, there is that right there is that you know, when you talk about Paul Checker, Steve Maxwell, they're at a point in their lives and careers where, like you said, they're purists. They just talk. They're not worried about a check in terms of money,
Yeah.
or not as worried about that. They're just much more established, and I think that's part of the reason you don't find this message as common as you would in a gym or.
Well, that's what I meant about the marketing. Is that are these guys? Are we in the wrong business? Like, not are we in the wrong business, but are we doing it a disservice because it has workouts in there? You know,
What do you mean?
like how do you eat, move, and healthy? How do you eat and be healthy? Like,
Well,
I would say,
explain more of the last part of your sentence, like.
well, Jillian Michaels is what sells as fitness right now, right?
Yeah.
I just explained that that's not what Paul Chek and we do. That's a very small segment of what they do, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of confusing to people who are trying to go for that, you know? It's like, well, what am I going to listen to? Soul Cycle? Or what am I going to do? I ate 5 hot dogs the other day. I can either do Soul Cycle on Tuesday or I can do Zone 3.
Yeah. Well, I think that the other thing I'll say too, when you take your celebrity trainers like a Jillian Michaels, or I can speak more intelligently about Tony Horton, for instance, he's not so far away in a lot of ways from a lot of the things we say. It's just that he made his money on something else. Like when you get him in a more intimate moment, like on his AMA on Reddit, or when he's in a more in-depth interview, he's talking about the journey. He's talking about the big picture. He's talking about all this stuff. But he knows it's not. He knows that's not what sells.
Who?
I'm talking about Tony Horton.
Oh, yeah. He's a
Well,
fan.
I'm just saying that someone like him, you know, in a lot of ways, he's a fairly enlightened individual with this. He's been doing this a long time. He's getting older now. He understands a lot of the things that someone of his experience should
Yeah, you're
understand.
hating on Tony Horton today, bro.
No,
I hope,
no.
hope he doesn't listen to him. He's getting
Were
older,
you not
man.
listening? Were you not listening to anything I just said?
He said he's getting older. He wouldn't appreciate that.
Well, it's true. He's getting older. I'm not saying it as a negative. I'm saying it as like he's extremely wise. And when you talk and I'll repeat myself since apparently you didn't hear me, is that in his more intimate moments, he's basically admitting everything we just talked about. But ultimately, that's not the message that the masses hear with him. So,
Yeah, I can see that. I see that. It's just
and I would even say in some ways Jillian Michaels might be like that too, but I mean she also gave her Biggest Loser team caffeine pills to rear them up, and then she got like suspended for it.
oh, she got busted for that?
Yeah, she got like I don't not thrown off the show for good, but temporarily.
What? It's her show.
Her and Bob Harper and the other guy, Dolvett. Yeah.
They must have done that for publicity reasons, just to let her go do something. But
No, I think she really gave him the caffeine pills.
with Paul Check, that'd be so crazy.
What's that?
They did The Biggest Loser with Paul Check on one side and like DeFranco on the other. That'd be fucking. Dude, we just created a new TV show.
That would
Like,
be pretty cool.
Top Chef. We just bring in all these $500 trainers and just give them clients and be like, all right, here's the goal, and then whoever does it, dude, that would be a good TV show, man.
However, I will say, having worked in TV and reality, what they would do there is take the lowest common denominator bites of a Paul Check and Joe DeFranco and make them look like Jillian Michaels.
I think if we'd have that'd be an awesome TV show, like Hulse versus your boy East West Healing. Like that would be sick.
Oh my God, that would be pretty cool.
Like
I would love to see that. Josh Rubin versus Elliot Hulse. That would be good TV.
We'll have the client who's on their deathbed. We'll have the client who just wants to get big. We'll have the client who wants to lose weight.
Right.
Client who wants flexibility. You can have Starrett versus Hulse. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool.
I wonder if we could sell that to like IFC or Sundance Channel.
I don't know.
Or YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have to get Hulse and those guys to sign on.
They'll do it. They'll do it because it'll be on a YouTube channel, and then they can cross promote.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Wow.
But,
get on it, dude. You're in the TV business.
it's true. I should do it. It's a tough pitch, though.
Yeah, it would be a purist thing where it's like, it would be like a passion project where we just do it for free.
Yeah, I've thought about a lot of those before. Unfortunately, good video production costs money. That's the unfortunate part. And depending on who you're getting involved and your relationship with them, they're not always going to be so apt to do it for free, for instance.
Well, what do we need? We need a couple cameras. We need an editor. And then the suckiest thing would be travel because we'd have to go to where these people live. I mean, where they train because they have their own gyms already. We're not bringing them to another facility.
Right. Exactly. It'd be tough. But it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see. I still think that if you let the powers that be, and by that I mean people who put things on cable TV or network TV, that show wouldn't look all that much different from The Biggest Loser. However, you'd probably have some contestants coming off there a lot wiser.
I would love to. I would be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's you know, when you ask if we're in the wrong business, quote unquote, you know, it's tough to say. Like, yeah, the quick dollar is almost, yeah, it might be made from if that's all you're interested in, it might be made from a spinning place, you know. But I tend to think that there's a reason that people do the things they do. There's a reason. There's a reason that Elliot Hulse is the guy he is. You know, he's not still doing the strongman circuit, for instance. You know, there's a reason Czech is the way he is. There's a reason, you know, There's a reason a guy named Josh Rubin could study under check, do very well, synthesize it so well that he could put his own spin on it, open his own practice, and the two of them can exist in one world. You know, there's a reason for a lot of these
I
things.
forgot about his name. I couldn't remember his name.
What are you trying to think of?
Josh Rubin. I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah. There's a reason that does happen. So it's, I don't know. If you're interested in like that Beachbody model, the P90X,
John T.
and Sean T, the insanity, yeah. Yeah, you have to synthesize it. Because if you're trying to move units, you have to be able to make it a small unit you can make a lot of and put out there, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to take an individualized journey and say, "Here you go. This is the big package."
Well,
And it's not like people haven't tried. Because if you look at the last 4 doctors and you look at How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy and countless other books, a lot of the keys and everything we talk about, it's right there, you know. And
but it's a very intimate and personal journey.
right.
And people don't want. They want. Hey, with Julian Michaels tweet. Okay, 60 push-ups and 10 squats.
And yeah, exactly. That's what people. It's easier, you know. It's tough. I mean, I'm sure you can think of moments when you were staring at, you were staring in the face of a really hard question you had to answer in this journey. And that's the thing, is that the hardest parts of the journey and the reason why people won't go through it is because there's 1 or 2 really hard questions and realities and truths you have to face along the way. That, for instance, if you think you can't stop eating a certain thing or eating a certain amount of food, that you ask yourself why. It might be hard to ask yourself why because it might be an emotional response, you know? It's not always as simple as you being misguided. It's very seldom that you talk to someone and they're eating like garbage and you say to them, you know that's not the right way to eat. You're like, it's not. And then you say to them, yeah, you were doing way too much of this, and this is how you want to eat. Okay, I'll do that. You know, it's very rare that you meet someone whose ignorance is so, and I don't mean ignorance in a pejorative, I just mean that you just don't know. It's very rare that you meet that. It's usually people using food as a drug, you know? And that's tough, because think of how hard it is to get an addict away from their drug. You know, think of how when you watch those crazy rehab shows, or maybe in your own life you have experience with someone who's had an addiction. It's tough to break it, man. And
yeah,
food can be that for people.
Yeah, I think that's the key. The key of it is like, what is. So they say, so the other people say you can eat that Big Mac if you do this Soul Cycle.
I don't think anyone says. Let's be fair. No one says that. It's just a faulty line of thinking that people.
They say that. I think gyms say that. Everything says that. If you put a calorie counter on anything, you're saying that.
Well, yeah, but you're extrapolating a little. I think everyone knows not to eat a Big Mac, but if they're putting a calorie counter on, they, you know, I agree with you I agree with you philosophically what you're trying to say.
Yeah, and I'm saying it philosophically, but to be honest with you, I think you and I know once. Even telling people half of the things that we say, they're like, what? I need to just burn calories. I need a workout that burns the most calories. All right, how much sleep did you get last night? 5 hours. How's your stress? Pretty high. They don't care. They just want to be worked. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, here's another thought. Here's another thing to consider, and this is when you can really start to get in the brains of people. And this has more recently been my response to the whole calorie thing, is that it's like, okay, cool. So you want to burn the most amount of calories in a small amount of time, and you need to do it 3 to 4 days a week, maybe every day. All right, I get it. I get where you're coming from. But let's think about that for a second. Is that what you really need?
That's what Paul Chek and those guys do. They go, okay.
Is because you
Why
might.
are you eating that Big Mac? What are you not happy about? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like.
Well, in other words, when I say what do you really need, you're basically touching on it. Is that okay? Let's indulge you here for a second. Track your calories on MyFitnessPal or one of those apps. Just track them for a couple days. Let's take a look at them. Oh wow, you're eating a lot, or oh no, you're not eating enough. let's start with the you're not eating enough, because I have to be honest with you. Um, the not eating enough or not eating nutritionally dense stuff is the number one thing I see. That it's like, okay, you're around what you think you should be eating, or what I would think you should be eating if I was thinking singularly in calories only. Like, okay, yeah, maybe you need 1,800 a day. All right, you're hovering around 1,800. But where did those 1,800 come from? And then I look at it, and it's like, oh, you ate pumpkin bread from Starbucks with your latte with foam and whatever other crap in it. That was 800 calories this morning.
Your
Did you get?
latte with foam.
I don't give a. I don't know what the hell those things are. Let me. This is a Joey Diaz type rant. I went to a Starbucks today. I went to get some goddamn green tea. Everybody in front of me was getting these frappy things where it looked like just sugar and like melted chocolate, like shook up, and just cream sprayed to the top. And it's like, what the fuck is that? I was like, come on, man. Real. I don't even know what that is. Get out of here with that shit. Anyway, it's like a Joey Diaz. This is some guy in a fedora and tattoos, dog. He was coming to get that. Get the fuck out of here. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, what I'm saying is that it's like, yeah, okay, you just had an 800-calorie breakfast, and there wasn't any magnesium in it. There wasn't any vitamin D. There wasn't any protein. There wasn't any. There was nothing good about that. So your calorie burning is not the problem. It's you need to make those calories count, and it's kind of like beating them from within. And then usually they drop the calorie thing pretty quick when they realize it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's exactly what you're saying. I mean, it's the snake eating its tail. It's like we're gonna go around until, and I think now is when stuff is changing, where people are like, hey, sitting is the new smoking. You lose a movement pattern if you don't do it, etc., etc., etc. So it's gonna be, to touch upon what we were saying before, is if you find these resources and you take what you need and you put together the puzzle, because it's a jigsaw puzzle and everybody's different. You're putting together these little pieces. One of them's hydration, one of them's meditation. You're putting these things together to make the best you. And nobody ever tells you, hey, yeah, you're gonna be skinny, or yes, you're gonna be ripped, or yes, you're gonna have the body you want. You're gonna think right, but nobody tells you. It's like, hey, I'm gonna translate it to you. You're basically gonna be in a mild form of ecstasy, and everything else is going to fall into line when you make your body healthy and your mind healthy. And I know I'm very oversimplifying it, but to be honest with you, that's what it is. And I really think that nobody ever explains it that way. And I mean it more in depth than I have a nice job, I have a good relationship, I'm not angry, I work out 6 days a week, stuff I like to do. I eat pretty good. I'm saying the next level shit is like meditating, taking care of your spine, and breathing along with all those things. Like you're going on a little bit more of a spiritual, mental quest to make it that way. So since that's the tip of the iceberg, the feeling that you'll get will be ecstasy, some form of ecstasy. And I know it sounds like a weirdo, but I mean, you'll feel so darn good about yourself on all facets that your priorities will fall into line about, like, I really don't need a new pair of jeans or something else. You'll start caring about the stuff that matters because you'll feel so good that you won't have that, oh my God, I'm having anxiety, I need my Frappuccino and a Big Mac, you know?
Yeah, you harking on that Big Mac, dog.
I know, what's up with that? I told you I made a very expensive Big Mac the other day, it was good.
Nice. Well, I think, to extrapolate on that too, and to pile on, it's funny because I brought up to you Steve Maxwell's site before the podcast and how there's a lot of good information on there.
Yeah.
And he blogs. He used to blog more regularly than he does now. But one of these blogs he wrote, he's talking about. He kind of hits on the key. Paul Chek. Everyone has said this, but they never make it central in their message. I mean, they might disagree with me, but it doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like they really made an effort to make this the central message. But like Steve Maxwell will mention in passing, people will be asking him questions, or he'll be writing an article about kettlebells or this Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he goes, but what people often don't realize is that until you change the inside, the outside doesn't really change as quickly. you know, and
Yeah.
that kind of sums up everything you just said, and it sums up everything that Paul Chek says. It sums up everything that Elliot Hulse says. It sums up everything that all these enlightened individuals on these matters know, and people who are happy with their life know. It's all about you on the inside, but it's tough because I don't know. Maybe that marketing line has worked in the past, and people just don't think it does anymore. I don't know, but when you get
I
when you
think.
when
Yeah,
you fix that stuff from within and you sort of understand it, it's true. Like in other words, I always feel like my life, my active life in terms of moving and stuff, it's kind of a series of at its best, it's really organic and it's me doing something because I really like it. You know, I played hockey because I really liked it. It was never like, oh, I need that workout. Oh, it's cool. I'm not going to work out because I got hockey tonight, or I have practice in the morning, whatever. I just loved hockey, and you know, that kind of pureness is kind of finding its way in the jiu-jitsu for me. So it's
mhm.
not a workout to me. I don't do it to work out, but uh, more so like that's more rare that I've been lucky to have those experiences in my life, but there's been a lot of other, maybe you would say equal amount of experiences that were more like quick fixes, or not, if not quick fix might be the wrong word, but it's the type of thing, this will help this will help this, but or this is what I kind of want to do or I impulsively feel like I might need to do. But deep down, I kind of always knew that's draining or that's
Yeah.
okay. Like, yeah, that's cool. That's cool to do every once in a while, but don't rely on it. Or you do something because it gets comfortable, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and one thing I've really been learning from Steve Maxwell and just yoga in general
Mhm.
is just how important mobility is and how I know I always feel my best when I have good mobility and flexibility because
You just brought up. I was forgetting. Like he mentioned that. Like that shit is huge, bro. Like I
it
never
is,
realized how
and
important mobility is because
everything comes together with it
yeah.
because
However,
everything gets
I think you have to not have it, and then lose it, and then get back to it to kind of understand it. Sorry, go ahead. I just want to make that point.
well, you might be right. That might be one way of thinking of it, but mobility can be something else in someone else's life. Like some people just never screwed themselves up or they were genetically gifted and they could do splits from the cradle and
Yeah.
they never lost the ability. So mobility for them isn't the thing. Maybe it's sleep and stress.
Yeah.
But for me it was mobility and I've always known that. And for whatever reason, you might like the times in my life where I work on it, I feel at my best and it makes the most sense. Like, in terms of, you know, it's how I can generate the most power, it's how I can feel the best, and you know, it's how you stay young, it's how you know, slow aging and all that stuff. But there was always something easier about I'm just going to go lift. I'm just going to go do 20 pull-ups. I'm just
Yeah.
going to go do this. Not that those things aren't important, but
Mobility, foam rolling is the hardest thing in the gym.
right. It's not that the other things aren't important.
Yeah.
It's just that balance, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, every now that I work on my mobility and my breathing exercises, and I'm giving them equal time, you know, it's like the boogeyman's gone. I've always done these things. It's just now it's becoming drilled in me in the way that Mondays are deadlift days, you know.
I do
And
I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, number 11, and that was something I learned like 6 months ago.
yeah, I mean, a lot of
Like,
these things I've
yeah,
known forever.
yeah, and injuries actually help. So I almost think you have to lose your mobility to be able to realize like, oh shit, why is this one leg worse than the other, or why is this different than the other? I think it's a big, interesting. It's huge, man. And he says it as an older guy. I say it as an older guy, where it's like I never had it. Now that I have it, I feel like I'm 25 years old. Like my body just feels fantastic. And it's like if you never had it, if you never knew ultimate mobility and you get it, you're like, oh my god, this is. You almost realize when he's like, it sounds like bullshit when he says like this is the secret like to longevity. You know, it is. It is because you feel like a cat. You feel like a jungle animal, and you're able to climb and move and get up from the ground as fast as possible. You know, if you could do the rollovers into the V-sits, which is the one that's on the number 11, where you bring your legs back up and over and jump and like inch forward, that's a pretty good exercise. And you can only do that if your spine is in good shape. Because if your spine is stiff, specifically in the T-spine, in the thoracic spine, you'll be in pain when you roll back that far. And and the only reason I know is because I was doing something similar in yoga and I could never do it. I'm like, what the hell? It wasn't until I started foam rolling my T-spine and just doing general zones with check in the T-spine area that I was able to do the rollovers and the V-sits, and I'm like, okay, I get it now. I totally understand. I understand mobility and I understand what's going on in my T-spine, and I still have issues there, but they're as minimal as they can be for now, and it's only because of mobility. And that mobility, it just feels like you have no glue in your system, so you're not stuck. Like getting up from the couch, like, you know, that old man type, oh, you know, getting up, or all that, or picking up a pencil, I do it just because it sounds funny, but it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, it is an old textbook trainer thing and physical therapist thing, and you know, it's been reiterated recently. I think Maxwell said it, that you know, your age is your ability to get up and off the ground. You know,
That was pretty huge when he said that. I was like, I totally understand what you mean.
Oh yeah, I mean, but that's in like, I can't tell you how many certification books I've read. You know, and
Oh,
it's so
really?
true.
Wow.
It's always rung true to me. Yeah.
Wow. No, I know. I have clients who can't get off the ground, and I'm like, man, this is pretty bad.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you know, it hit me yesterday when I was on the beach, that I would say, and I'm not exaggerating, 80% of the people there were either overweight or had some type of major orthopedic dysfunction there, and I just felt like I was surrounded by broken people, and it actually made me really sad, you know. And
Yeah.
I was like, wow, there's a lot of broken people, and
Wow, you're very melancholy today, Mark.
no, man, I'm in a perfectly good mood, bro.
Surrounded by broken people,
Surrounded by broken people.
the land of the broken.
End this.
No, I know what you mean. It's exactly, that's how it is. It's like, and I know what you mean. I more feel like, man, if these people only knew. Like, I sound like a crazy guy going, hey, I'm feeling like static right now, and they're like, yeah, whatever. No, and you can't. If I could just open up and give you a little bit of piece of how I feel, you'll be like, I'm gonna be 80-20 from here on out. Like I'm gonna do everything right during the week, and I'm gonna have 20% fun on the weekends. If you could figure that out, it would be awesome. If you could feel how that feels, I guarantee you nobody would ever. And as a trainer, this is what we're doing. We're tricking our clients into eating good 5 days a week, eating bad 2 days a week. And I'm just generalizing, but and the reason why you do that is because they'll feel so good that when they eat the crappy stuff, they'll be like, oh my god, that wrecked me. What the hell was that?
Yeah, and you start to avoid it more.
Yeah, and you avoid it because you're like, wow, you're changing the reward because it's no longer a reward, it's a punishment. You're like, wow, I'm really punishing myself. So now it's like, but put it together. It's worth it for you to go on that journey. It's worth it for you to put the pieces of the puzzle together to feel that, because what you get back in return is something that even paid professionals can't put it in words for you. It's like the secret to health. It's like learning that something does. Santa Claus exists, and you have proof. But it takes more time than 3 hours a week at a gym. You know.
Yeah, because always think about it too, and it is a slightly pessimistic way to look at life, but you can get a lot of clarity from it. Just remember, a lot of businesses, basically all of them, exist for profit. Maybe some of the smaller businesses, maybe people, your local place, maybe like this butcher loves meat, but he still at the end of the day has to make 1 and 1 equal 2. And in particular, when you're talking about really large gyms, they got to keep the doors open. So remember that impulse to be at the gym an hour a day, 5 days a week, comes from them. It's not bad to be there an hour a day, 5 days a week, but if that's all it is for you, question kind of where that came from. That maybe those 5 hours in the week that you have carved out for the gym, maybe three of them might be better spent joining a local soccer league if that's something you like, or
Yeah.
it might be better served going ice skating 3 hours a week if you like ice skating. You
There you go.
know, you got to remember just you use that time to do you basically.
You do you,
You
and
do you.
and the other hour in that week should be spent listening to us and tweeting us and Gmailing us as well.
I like that, and it shouldn't take you an hour though. But if it does, we'll still read it. Don't worry.
No,
Uh,
no, they listen to the podcast and then they respond.
that's true. That would take you about an hour. Yeah. So email us at functionalmeatheads@gmail.com or tweet Froy and I at funmeatheads. And you can visit our site as always, functionalmeatheads.com. Find us on iTunes and Stitcher, and I think that covers our bases.
Yes, or the other hour could be spent watching the regular show.
It's true. Hey, so did you watch those UFC fights over the weekend?
I saw a little. I tried to stay up, but I saw the Lawler one.
Yeah, that wasn't bad. I've been dying to talk to someone. I mean, we didn't really talk about it when I saw you over the weekend, but I've been dying to talk to someone about it because I don't have anyone to talk about this with. So for 1 minute here.
I didn't watch the Henderson one because it was too long.
Yeah, the Henderson one, I knew Cormier would win, but the the Dillashaw one, that was really shocking though. I mean, not that the kid isn't a good fighter because he's a great fighter, but just the way, just how handily he defeated Barao was really something else.
You're on the Brazilian tips or what, dude? You don't think Brazilian guys can lose?
No, I think they can, but when you have a 35 fight win streak, that's like Floyd Mayweather losing. He's the closest thing the sport had to Floyd Mayweather.
Wow, I didn't know that.
35 straight wins, you know?
Knock him out or did he go distance?
Knocked him out in the fifth round. But he dominated.
I watch fights that go. I only like first round fights.
You're such a UFC.
I'm serious. If it goes past 2 rounds, I'm like whatever.
Dillashaw won every round. If that went to decision, he would have won every single round.
That's pretty
Maybe.
cool that he finished him in the fifth round though.
Yeah. It was really something else. And from a martial artist perspective, I was reading the interviews with Dwayne Ludwig, his trainer, after, and he was talking about how Dillashaw used this really common. He kept using this one move against him. I can't remember the sequence of punches, but it would basically be like a 1-2, and then he would just cut real fast to the right or to the left, and he kept switching his stance. So if you started to catch on to the fact that he was throwing these two and then going to one side, he'd switch his stance so it'd screw you up because then he'd start going to the other side. And
Wow.
he switched so efficiently between southpaw and that, and he's a really exceptional athlete too. That was the other thing that helped him, and it was really impressive because the reason I liked it from a martial artist perspective is because his coach talked about how every single one of those moves was drilled, and it was often drilled in classes. So he said that it was burned into his memory, and I appreciated that because when I'm sparring in jiu-jitsu, I'm always thinking to myself, like, when I get caught in these situations, these bad ones, I'm like, I don't know what to do here. It's like I'm looking, my body's looking for that reflex, but I don't have it in this position. And it just kind of showed me how important drilling is. And to hear a really, really high-level professional coach say that, I was like, I have the right thought here. And
Nice.
yeah, it was interesting. But it was really an exceptional fight to watch, and really kind of incredible that
Yeah, I kind of like the bigger fights. I didn't really know too many of the names on here. I knew Henderson and Cormier.
this was a huge card. Yeah, it was Dillashaw and Barao, Cormier, Henderson, and Lawler and Ellenberger. Those are all pretty big names.
Yeah, we'll see. When's the next one?
I think it's one of the UFC on Foxes or Fight Passes. It's either this weekend or next.
Man, they have like 3 a month, huh? They're crazy.
Yeah, sometimes they'll have 4, but they generally shoot for 3. But I think last month they had 2. But yeah, still, it's a lot. You
Yeah.
know? But yeah, I had to get my little fight thing out.
Yeah. Nice. Well, we'll see.
Anyway, you know where to find us, everyone. FunctionalMeatheads.com, iTunes, Functional Meatheads, FunctionalMeatheads@gmail.com. Thank you for tuning in if you went the distance. And we
Watch.
will
Oh.
and watch the regular show. It's time for the woo off. We will talk to you next week.
Woo, woo, woo. Woo. It's so moist.